Hello, everybody. Welcome to TL's Roadhouse. Good to have you all back. We're finally getting everything lined out, man. We're getting all of our camera placements done and getting the backdrops right. This has been a work in progress. So over the last few episodes, I know things have looked a little squirrely, but we're getting better all the time. In the house is my buddy Hardy.
What's up, man?
Good to see you, brother.
Dude, good to be here.
How are you, man?
I'm never better.
Got that orange on. I'm ready to go.
Dude, come on.
So where are we today?
We're in Bristol, dude. We're at Bristol Motor Speedway.
Yeah. Have you ever been to a race here?
Dude, so I had been to one race here, and it was about probably 22. It's probably 7 or 8 years ago, 6, 7, 8 years ago. And I grew up going to Talladega my whole life. Since I was 12 years old, me and my dad went to both races until I was like 19, till I moved to Nashville and then quit going for the most part. But I got invited to come to Bristol, the night race, and we got here, and the bottom fell out. And they canceled the race, and is it on a Sunday?
Then yeah, NASCAR's usually on Sunday.
That's right.
It used to be ARCA or the
Busch or
all that stuff. But night races are the best here, man.
Dude,
what made them so cool is, man, they bottom out and you see the sparks flying
Yes,
at the
dude.
bottom of the cars. It's awesome.
But they rescheduled it for the next day, and the group I was with, including myself, we had to get back to town. It was like for a riot or something. We had something going on. So we missed. We saw like 11 laps, which here is like 30 seconds.
Oh.
And then I think a big old thing of lightning, and like the bottom fell out, and they held us for like an hour. They made everybody leave, and then they brought us back in, I think, and then lightning struck again, and they were like, "We got to push to tomorrow."
Yeah.
So I got to see 11 laps at Bristol, and that's all I got.
You ever had a chance to drive around one of the tracks, man? You need to check that. If you get a chance to do it, I think Richard Petty still has a driving school. I've done it in Las Vegas. I've got to drive in at the Dallas Fort Worth track out there.
Yeah.
That track's almost just like Charlotte. It's real similar to Charlotte.
Really?
Yeah, but it's a cool experience, man, to be able to push a car up to 170, 80 miles an hour.
They let you do it. They let you do the whole thing.
They will put you out there with a pace car in front of you, and you go through the orientation and do the whole thing, but they'll let you drive as fast as they feel that you're comfortable going. They will let you. They will take you as fast as you want to go. Now, I think my best lap speed was like 172 miles an hour, was something like that. But I've been in a pace car at 200 miles an hour. And it'll make you like that.
I've never been that. My buddy had a Camaro in high school, and like we got up to 130 one time, and that's about all. That's as fast as but I would love to go faster. That would be awesome.
I was just complaining to my wife the other day. My truck's got a governor on it. My Ford shuts off at 97 miles an hour. And
mine does too.
It stops. That's as fast as it'll go. And I'm like, I'm not happy about that. She's like, why are you going 97 miles an hour? I said, you got to see how fast it'll go.
Dude. Do you have a 250?
I do.
Dude, I do too, man. And it's 96 is mine.
Right there.
It'll get there in 2 seconds, but it will not go any faster.
That turbo's pretty bad.
Dude, I just got mine.
It don't come out of the hole real hard, but once it gets going, it's like bam.
You can get around people on the interstate so smooth. It is. I had a 150 for forever, and it was awesome. And I kept it, and it is awesome. But dude, this thing, there ain't nothing like it, man. It's awesome.
I freaking love it, man. You're up above everything too, and you're in the hammer lane, and you come up on somebody really fast. They usually will get out of the way.
Yeah, yeah, you're right,
man. I've been looking forward to this so much. We've been talking for a while about being able to sit down and talk like this. I'm very proud of your career, man. You've done some amazing stuff, and you're leaning into the wind. You're really pushing the boundaries and bringing a little bit edgier rock and roll to the forefront in country format. What kind of pushback are you getting?
Man, a little bit, but to be honest, not a whole lot, man. Everybody has been very, very accepting of it. I try not to read like the comments and dig too deep into that stuff because I don't know how I would handle that. You know, it's like you get 100 good ones, but then there's one bad one, and
that's the one that sticks with you.
Yes, and but not a whole lot, man. My fans have been kind of with me the whole time, and if I do one thing or do another, like they're here for it, and I'm very thankful for that because it's kind of scary to take a risk, or kind of take that leap into sort of a different genre or genre pushing kind of thing, and it's been really awesome that people have received it well.
Well, I think most I don't know if you can just define it to the younger generation, but I mean, a lot of people from my era, we grew up listening. I mean, I'm AC/DC fan. I mean, I'm Disturbed. There are things that are really on the fringe, some darker metal and different things. I mean, even beyond Metallica that I've listened to for a long time.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the general population adheres to formality as much as the industry does. So it's the gatekeepers that I'll tell you a story. So there are two things. Back in early part of my career, I cut a song called "If the Good Die Young." Shot a video at Charlotte Motor Speedway, as a matter of fact,
Okay.
yeah, with the racetrack. And I remember when we cut that song, Brett Rowan was playing guitar on that record. Phenomenal guitar player. And we had the screaming rock and roll guitar solo on it. Label lost their mind. This was 93. Lost their mind. Made me go back and put a fiddle solo on it. So they didn't want all that rock and roll guitar on the record. I'm serious.
Oh, wow.
There's another song a cat had called "If the World Had a Front Porch." I had radio stations that wouldn't play it because it said the word cuss. Taught me how to cuss and how to pray. Wouldn't play it because it said the word cuss.
Wow, dude.
So we've come a long way.
Dude, yeah, no kidding. Holy cow. I've definitely experienced some gatekeeper issues with like I said, piss and rednecker, and so that one didn't fly. And
say piss.
literally, and then give heaven some hell. There was a few out there that maybe thought that was a little sacrilegious, and so didn't get the ad on those too. Yeah. So I've experienced that, but we haven't really pushed the rock thing to country radio yet. But with this next record, there's a lot of rock on this next record. So if we decide to push one of those songs as a country single, we'll see what happens.
So have you crossed formats and gone to some of the other platforms? And
my single, I dropped a song yesterday called Jack, and Jack is going to be my first push at rock radio for a rock single.
So how does that work with your label? What label are you on, by the way?
Big Loud.
Okay. So obviously that's a whole nother promotion staff. Do you have a rock and roll affiliate label that you're sending it through?
So Big Loud just started a rock label a couple years ago called
Really?
Big Loud Rock, and they've signed 2 or 3 acts, and so my rock stuff is released under that imprint, and they have they're constantly hiring people for that imprint, and there's 4 or 5 people in LA, and they got a couple guys in New York that are just doing Big Loud Rock, and they don't have a radio team yet, but I do know that a lot of their country radio people, like a handful of their country radio team, came from rock, so they still have some of those relationships with rock radio guys.
Yeah. That's it's going to be interesting to see how that works. You know, I know the Chris Gaines thing wasn't exactly the same, but I mean, that was a massive pushback that he caught for doing that, and that album wasn't bad.
I never got to hear it.
It wasn't a bad record. Just nobody wanted to see that whole alter ego thing. You're not going down that path, but sometimes you get, just because you can, don't mean that they want you to.
Yeah,
you know,
that's true.
But, you know, I think as an artist, what a lot of people don't understand is that you have to continue to push the boundaries to keep yourself excited about what you do as a songwriter, as a musician, as a singer. And I don't really think we should ever put boundaries on ourselves. I think we should continue to grow all the time.
I think
it's healthy.
I think that's a perfect description. I mean, you look at bands like Queen is a really prime example that every 5-6 years they kind of changed directions. I mean, they were always Queen, but their sound changed, and that is a reason that they, stayed relevant for so long. I mean, there's certain bands that every so often would reinvent themselves, and that, to me, that's why a lot of them did as well as they did. Is they never got stale, they never got complacent with their creativity.
So how deep did your as a fan growing up before you got into the business, what was all the stuff you were listening to? How dark did your catalog get? Take me down to the bottom.
Oh man,
come on, let me go,
dude. When I was growing up, I was I tell everybody I grew up country, but I always listened to rock and roll. My dad he liked country, but he forced rock and roll on me at a really young age. So when I was a kid, it was like Pearl Jam. Stone Temple Pilots is probably my favorite band, one of them. I'm a big 9 Inch Nails fan.
Cool.
I really like Limp Bizkit, unapologetically a huge Limp
Absolutely.
Bizkit fan. And then I got into metal in high school, a bunch of bands that nobody's ever heard of, but like Meshuggah is probably one of the more popular ones. Oh man, I can't even. There's so many, but I got into metal a lot, and I love classic rock. I could talk about classic rock all day.
Yeah.
But I got into the really heavy stuff when I was old enough to like buy and consume music, on my own and not have to talk my parents into buying a CD at Walmart that had a parental advisory sticker on it or something like that. But yeah, I mean, even Kid Rock's first couple of records were like huge influences of mine. Puddle of Mud, Linkin Park, all that stuff was like that was very influential. That was when I was like easily influenced. That was like my teenage years where like music was changing my life, and that was the stuff that was popular at the time.
Man, I've seen some videos of Limp Bizkit like at Hellfest and stuff.
Yeah, dude.
When they were when the mosh pit just started freaking swirling, it was almost terrifying.
Yeah, dude.
That how massive that was, and just the command that he had from that crowd.
Yeah.
It was scary to have that much control. And that Woodstock '99,
dude.
Holy.
I've seen both documentaries. Crazy. When Korn was out there and everybody was jumping and it looked like waves. Man, I love that shit.
Just crazy too. But there's also, you got to be a little scared about having that much power to control that many people at one time.
Yeah.
It's a little scary.
Yeah, man. I mean, our shows, I would love for it to get as crazy as it could get, but I would never want anything to get super out of hand, which is kind of tough because it's like,
how far do you push and when do you back off?
Yeah, exactly.
It's sometimes, I mean, it's not, because you always want to get that crowd to just frothing at the mouth. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, man.
Yeah.
That's what you want.
Exactly.
I mean, that's part of the game.
Yeah, it's kind of like bad weather. Like I love bad weather, but I don't want anybody to get hurt. You know what I mean? It's like, you're right. How far do you push them and when is it time to dial it back a little bit? But we haven't had to hit the dial back part yet, so we're gonna keep pushing until something. Hopefully not until something too bad happens, but until it gets too crazy.
I don't think Fred knew when to stop.
No way. I mean that whole generation was built on
anarchy.
Yes, and rage, and that was
Rage
the
Against the
difference.
Machine.
Oh yeah. That was the difference in '99 and Woodstock in the '60s. It was
peace and love.
Yeah, man, and it was just a different culture. The kids were different in the '90s. Like they were designed to be angry.
I wonder what the kids are designed to be now.
I don't know. I don't even want to know.
That's a loaded question, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, man. So you're about to tie the knot.
Yeah, man. In like a month.
Congratulations.
Man, thank you.
That's awesome.
She's awesome. She's out on her bachelorette party right now. They're in New Orleans, living it up.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, I'm excited. We got everything done. Everything is done. So it's just the waiting game now.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, man.
You know, marriage is very hard. My wife and I have been together 23 years.
Wow.
We just got our last daughter off to college, so we're empty nesters now. She's been spending more time on the road, so that's a big change.
Yeah, that's great.
It is.
Kyleigh comes out with me some. She kind of picks and chooses the cool spots to go to, like the cool cities and where there's things to do, and I don't blame her. If we have a run of county fairs in the middle of nowhere and there's nothing to do, she's gonna hold off and stay home.
Yeah, where's the Starbucks at?
Yeah.
So you went to MTSU?
I did. Yeah. I graduated in 2013. I went to 1 year of junior college in Mississippi, and then when I was 19, I decided to move to Nashville, and I majored in songwriting. It was like a really new major at the time. It was under the mass communications, like music industry.
Yeah.
Major. But yeah, I got my degree. It's hanging in my studio now and everything, man. I'm proud of it.
Speaking of stuff hanging in plaques, I want you to look at that right there. I'm so proud of that.
I have one.
I am a lord.
Dude,
Lord
I
Tracy
have
Lawrence.
one. I'm also a lord.
Wonderful, my friend. We're both lords. That's the greatest thing. I just want everybody to recognize. So DJ Silver's got to where every time he walks up to me, he's playing bagpipes on his phone and he's going, "Hear ye, hear ye."
Oh my God. I think Callie's sister got me. I can't
From
remember.
Scotland.
Yes, she went to Scotland at like semester at sea or something, and she got one of these. So you and I both on 1 foot of ground that goes all the way
are correct,
to
sir.
the other side of the earth.
Isn't
right?
that wonderful?
We could do anything we want with that 1 square foot of
Absolutely.
ground.
I just want to go pee on it.
That's a great idea. That is
It's my yard. I can do what I want with it.
If we're ever both in Scotland at the same time, I will take you up on that.
That's awesome, man. So I didn't really realize that songwriting, that you could get a degree in that, man. So obviously you learned a lot. You've done really well. You've had some massive hits over the last few years, not only on yourself but on quite a few other people.
Yeah, it's been crazy.
Pretty awesome.
Man, in 2000, my first publishing deal, it was a 3-year deal, and I had zero cuts at the end of that deal.
Really?
And my publisher, who is like a family member, it's a crazy story, but he signed me like pretty much right out of MTSU, and I might have been a little too young to have a publishing, like creatively young a little bit. I was kind of still figuring it out, but he signed me anyway, and I got zero cuts on my first deal, and then that deal came up at the end of 2017, so I re-signed my deal in 2018, and that's kind of when everything started happening. I mean, it was immediately. Like the 1 year I had zero, and the next year I think I got like 40 cuts in a year. It was awesome.
So what was the difference? Did you change something?
No, I owe it a lot of it, honestly, to the FGL guys, man. They had me out once in 2017, and it went really well. And then so they actually had me out a lot the rest of the year in 2017 and a lot of the year in 2018. And that between those guys having me out, I ended up writing a lot of songs on their Can't Say I Ain't Country record. And then I met like Seth England at Big Loud through them, who runs the label, which is pretty much how I met Morgan Wallen. And I had a hit with Chris Lane. It was Big Loud, just in general, had a huge part of my songwriting career. And then God's Country happened sort of out of the blue at the beginning of 2019, and that was a big step towards, you know, the songwriting thing as well.
What's your philosophy about how you approach writing songs? I mean, do you start with a hook line? I've seen all different kind of things. I was watching this documentary that was just released recently on Dave Grohl, and the whole way that they cut records is extremely different. Their whole songwriting process, the way they structure their sections and everything is very backward to anything that I've ever heard of.
Yeah.
But country-wise, I mean, how do you approach writing a song? Where do you start?
I usually start with an idea.
Hook line or verse idea, does it matter?
Like a hook, like a general, usually it's the title, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Which typically is the idea. And kind of go from there, man. It's every now and then, especially like with the rock stuff, like I'll have written a riff or something, but that's usually like if it's for me. But if it's for somebody else, it usually starts with an idea. I'm not a big fan of just kind of writing a song and seeing where it goes, because the way my brain works is like I need to know what exactly we're writing towards. So I need the core of the song to be done, like the idea itself, and then kind of you sometimes start with the chorus, but like I need to know exactly what we're writing at, so you know where the plane is going to land.
Absolutely.
And these days I write with a lot of, they call them track guys, producer writers or whatever, and there's so many talented ones in town that constantly have awesome I guess beats, but just whatever grooves or whatever already written. And these guys, you go into a room and hopefully myself or someone else has the idea, and this dude's just scrolling through all their really cool things that they've made, on their computer, and usually eventually you find a groove that fits the idea that you're trying to write. And if not, somebody picks up a guitar and just kind of starts playing something. But it always starts with the idea for me.
How much have you played around with structure? I've noticed that I think it was you that I was listening to I've used your last CD to work out and stuff when we're out on the road, and I was noticing some structure differences where it would be, instead of verse chorus, you would do like a verse channel chorus. There's some different structure things that you've been doing that are a little bit left-footed from what most people typically call country.
Man, I don't know. I think it kind of has happened naturally, but yeah, I haven't really thought about it, but
I think it's very cool. It's not a negative. I'm just curious if you're really trying to, because I would like to try to go down that path a little bit more too, and be a little bit more creative with structure. But you know what, the attention span, everybody says you got to get to the hook, you got to get to the meat real fast, or people lose interest really quick.
I mean, that's true, but I don't know, if the song's good enough, people are gonna.
Absolutely.
If the verses and the channel is good enough, people are going to want to listen to the rest of it, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I got a song there's a song on my last record, a rock, the last song. It's called a rock, and like that one's there's no chorus. It's just like 5 verses, and then that's the whole song. And
Yep.
I don't know, man. It's kind of, I guess, just whatever feels right, and that always happens in the room. I feel like where we'll have a verse and we'll like mess with a channel, and then they kind of look at each other like we're saying the same thing we just said in the verse. Let's just get to the chorus. And sometimes like there's a verse and we look around and we're like, I feel like there's one little thing that we need to say before, we get to what we're trying to say in the chorus. So I guess it just kind of depends on how you get there. But I love a good channel, man. I'm all about the channel.
I think channels are a huge part, and older traditional country never had channels.
Really?
I mean, a lot of the older stuff. It's always two like Bohemian Rhapsody and Stairway to Heaven. That whole orchestral thing with the huge dynamics. I mean, the way that Stairway was put together, you think anybody will ever be able to pull that length of a song off in country music and have that theatrical kind of build? Nobody's done it yet that I know of.
No, not yet.
You're thinking about it, ain't you?
I might already have something that's going to
Really?
be coming out, but I can't talk about it.
Oh, come on, man.
It's coming out.
Come on.
I'll be able to talk about it in a couple of weeks. I think we're dropping the song actually in a couple of weeks.
That's awesome.
I've got a 5.5 minute song, so it's not like that long, but it's a very theatrical, shift changing thing. But I agree with you, man. I think it's cool, and there's room for that, man.
I think there is too. It might not. Radio might not play it.
That's right. It doesn't have to live on the radio.
But Led Zeppelin never worked radio.
Yeah,
they didn't sing.
They never had a number one, or Stairway might have been their only number one, or something. Or
Hey, what can I do was like the only thing that was never on an album. And I think it was one of the few things that charted for them.
Dude, the first time I heard that song, they did a record where they didn't do the record, but a record came out in the '90s. It was called Encomium, and it was where a bunch of '90s artists did Zeppelin songs. So the first time I ever even heard "Hey, What Can I Do," Hootie did it. Darius did it. And it's freaking awesome, and it sounds like a Hootie song. And then I had to go back and try to find it, and I couldn't. I'm with you.
It's on no albums.
On an album.
No.
So how did that even?
I have no idea. I don't even know how it got released. But I don't even think you can find it on Spotify or anything.
That's crazy.
I just know that from college, man. I hadn't heard that song in long. I've looked for it on Spotify and I can't find it.
That's insane.
Yeah.
But people, if you know classic rock, like that song.
Absolutely.
It's pretty wild.
That was a big record, man.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not gonna tell me. God dang!
I can't, dude. It's awesome though. It's awesome, and it's just very theatrical and very dramatic. And but yeah, I agree. I think that people, you can get away with stuff like that, man. It's cool, and it's time for that stuff to start happening again, because nobody has done that in so long. And there's people, I think, that can get away with it. I'll tell you one song that does it, but they had a radio edit, and this song, it's crazy, but it's Billie Eilish, and it's Happier Than Ever. And the song starts out like a 1930s or 40s sounding, it's like, I think it's like a ukulele, but the vocal is it just sounds like a song from like the 30s or 40s. And it's this 3 minutes of like this very beautifully written, it's like a breakup thing, but they do the thing, and then it switches over to like this guitar chug, and the rest of the song is really dramatic and really like rock and roll. And that's the only song I can think of. But they didn't play that on the radio. The radio started with the rock part, and they just played that part. Yeah. That's the only one I can really think of. That's like that's a big song, I guess.
Big epic kind of thing.
Yeah,
that's cool. So you've been out with the Morgan all year?
The tour started like November 11th last year, so we have toured all year this year. It's crazy. It's been a long tour.
Massive crowds too, man. That's just it's unbelievable to be able to go out there and be on stage in front of huge crowds every night. Isn't it?
It's incredible, man. I'm spoiled at this point, especially like when we first started back. And that Morgan, it was kind of his comeback time, and we played a show in Mobile. It was like his third show that he did. And there was not a festival. It was just like Larry Fleet, Ashland Kraft, myself, and Morgan. And there were 30,000 people there, dude. Yeah. And it broke the city of Mobile. Like it was on the news, and how bad the traffic was, and all this crazy stuff. And I don't know, man. It was crazy to be a part of that. And to witness that, because it was like a phenomenon that hasn't happened in a long time, where somebody had, a massive group of people have freaked out over an artist like that. It's just crazy to be a part of.
What being out there with it, from your perspective, what do you think has been the primary contributing factor outside of just the whole the TMZ attack and all that crap? Has there been something that you can say, this is why this guy's so big? What's made him explode like this?
I think that the TMZ thing had something to do with it, in a way that it made his fan base stronger.
But it still gave an exposure to the whole rest, to this massive number of people. But still, he's had to have the goods to back it up too.
Oh, 100%. I mean, this record was huge, and he put out a 30-song record, which nobody has done, I feel like, in forever. And it wasn't split up in pieces. It was a 30-song record. Every song on there was awesome. I think that he waited 3 years to drop that record from his first record, which was already a big record. So I think the anticipation was really high, and I think the mullet had something to do with it. And I think Morgan, people knowing Morgan and knowing stories and knowing how he is, and just how Morgan is, man. And everybody knows that everybody has a Morgan Wallen story, or has heard a Morgan Wallen story, and that's, I think there's a little bit of that people are like, I got to go see this guy. He's a great singer. His live show is awesome. His band is awesome. And I think the big thing was, after all the crazy stuff happened, he went silent for a long time.
Yeah.
And kind of disappeared off of the face of the earth. And that created an even bigger demand for, when's he going to come back? It's like, who shot JR? You know what I mean? It was like, when is this guy going to finally come back? So when he finally announced that he came back, it was just like pandemonium. It was all of that stuff that came together and kind of converged at the same time.
What's the next step for you? If you got one last show with him, I mean, are you ready to step out and headline your own tour? Are you gonna do a package thing? You fixing to make the jump?
Yeah, we're gonna do some headliner stuff next year. We're getting ready to
big production rig. What's the plan?
We're gonna actually do. We're playing like. We're either doing like multiple nights at 3,000 cap rooms, or we're doing like a few like bigger rooms. But yeah, we're gonna up our production. We're getting a video wall. No pyro yet, but yeah, it's gonna be different than our production now. We're super excited about it.
Well, being able to step out there and be able to have all of your personality shine through what your production is going to be a major step.
Dude, I cannot wait, man.
And
I think all that stuff adds to our show, because you've seen it. I mean, it's like a rock show, and we kind of are unapologetically like over the top with everything, and yeah, having some of that new production and all the video wall and just some of the new stuff and cryo and all that stuff is really going to help next year. But I'm excited to get out there, man. We did like less than 10 headliner shows this year, but none were like in clubs. It was like county fairs or really small festivals. So we haven't really, they've all been like somewhat built-in crowds, but we haven't seen like our hard ticket in gosh, a year and a half, or maybe like a full calendar. No, probably a year and a half, because we went from Aldine, took a small break, and then went straight to Morgan. So we haven't really done any like headliner shows in a club in a year and a half or even longer. So I'm excited to see our hard ticket and what the people do.
Kind of get the data in place and kind of see where you're at, man.
Yeah.
See where your hot spots are. And
that's right.
And that's pretty awesome, man. So I'm a little disappointed. We had talked. I know you're a tattoo artist and you got a lot of ink. Let me tell you first. So this was my most recent one. I just got this.
I like that, man.
Yeah, and so I'd been my guitar player Travis. He knew a guy up in Idaho, and he actually came out to the bus and did this on the bus, which is really cool. And I'd looked for a lot of things that I wanted. And so about 2 weeks after I got this done, my wife pulled up a picture and she said, "Look at this. Alden's got the same tattoo on his arm."
Does he really?
Yeah. So I showed it to him and I said, "Yeah, I got to come back in, and we're going to do my guitar player is going to write the score out for Time Marches On, a little band that we're going to do.
That's
and I'm
cool,
gonna put Time
man.
Marches On above the top of it."
I think that's
and then
a great
this one,
idea.
we just got this, and my wife and my daughters, we went to Italy in June, and we all four got the same tattoo in Rome. So I got mine here. My youngest daughter got hers here. My wife got hers on her wrist. My other daughter got it on her side. So this is representing our love of travel. This is this compass.
Dude, and it's cool that you got it in a different country.
Yeah, we all did it together. All did it the same day. The exact same tattoo, different sizes for what everybody wanted. But it was a very cool experience.
That's really cool, dude. And I'm so bummed that.
So here's what I want to do. So to all you folks out there listening, we were supposed to do a tattoo. He was going to tattoo me while I was doing this interview, but I think the plan is that I'll just come to you and we'll just do the tattoo and video it, and then we'll do an addendum to this podcast.
Yeah, that's perfect. We'll build some anticipation.
I think that'll be a real good thing.
Okay.
Come up with something real good. So how good of a tattoo artist are you?
I'm good. I haven't really done anything on myself yet, which kind of sounds bad, but I've been doing it on other people. I did a big hot dog on my one of our crew guys right here on his leg, and his girlfriend's a tattoo artist.
So what was it you were supposed to say? No, you told me and I forgot.
Wow, that's crazy.
Oh my gosh, that's my guitar player's line, dude.
Wow,
Justin.
that's crazy.
Wow, you got me.
I was sitting here going, I got to remember what it was, and I just couldn't remember.
Oh my God, did you get that from Justin?
I just met him right before this podcast started.
And he told you to say that? Yeah. Oh my God, he's such an idiot, dude. Yeah, if somebody tells a story, a lot of times, dude, and this is so mean, but we'll be in like airport shuttle or something, and like we'll have a driver that likes to talk. You know how that is.
Oh yeah.
They'll tell some story that none of us care about, and Justin, if nobody's in on the joke, they don't know, but Justin will just be in the back and go, "Wow, that's crazy." If you're listening to this and you're ever driving us and tell a story and you hear that, just know we're making fun of you.
So by the way, that's Derek. Derek plays guitar in the band.
Oh, right on.
And that's Scott. Scott's piano player. So they're
awesome.
They're doing double duty. I think you went to MTSU too, didn't you?
MTSU grad 2011 from the
Okay, so we overlapped probably a little bit. I started in 2011.
Right. I stole him from Sound Emporium. He was
right on.
He actually
from the RIM program.
Yeah.
What kind of rim?
Hey.
Recording industry management.
I had to ask that. and Scott plays piano, and he's
awesome.
He's from Waco. He can't help it.
Waco. Yeah.
You're from Arkansas, right?
Yeah, I grew up in Arkansas. I'm originally from East Texas.
Okay.
So my mom remarried when I was young, and I moved to Southwest Arkansas. So obviously I'm sporting the stuff today.
Dude, I've got I was gonna wear my Mississippi State hoodie, but I left it probably with my tattoo.
At least you're not an Ole Miss fan, man.
Dude, but I'm marrying an Ole Miss grad, dude, and it's tough.
After what Lane Kiffin did to Tennessee, it's really hard for me to digest. I just can't. And they were beating up on Kentucky out there a while ago.
Who was? I haven't watched.
Ole Miss playing Kentucky today.
Are they? And they're beating
Arkansas,
Kentucky right now.
It was 14-0. They were just running all over them. And Arkansas is playing Alabama today. I know it'll all be done by the time y'all see all this, but I don't care.
Dude, yeah. The last 2 years, the SEC West, aside from Ole Miss and Alabama, it's been the most level playing field I've seen in forever. LSU, Auburn, Arkansas, and A&M have all beat, and Auburn, or maybe I said Auburn, but last year we all beat each other. Like if you drew like the CIA guys that draw the lines and try to connect like who the killer is. I mean, it was insane, and it's kind of looking like it's going to be like that this year too.
But everybody but Georgia, to me.
Yeah,
I just don't know if anybody's going to beat Georgia this year.
yeah, I mean they're. I mean,
they could beat Dallas right now.
UT, I feel like could be the. Yeah, well. And I'm a Dak Prescott guy because I'm a Mississippi State guy, so I'm a second-hand Dallas fan, and
I understand.
I hate it for him.
Yeah. What do you do though?
Yeah, I know it. And dude, those Dak years at Mississippi State were awesome. And I was already living in Nashville, but I remember. So my dad was a high school referee in Mississippi for years, and he. In the 90s, started was on the chain crew at Mississippi State. So he ran the chains, and now he runs the play clock at Mississippi State. And so when we had Dak and we beat LSU the first game, A&M the second game, and we were like ranked number 5 or something like that, and we were playing number 2, Auburn. I was in Nashville. This was like 2014. I had no money, nothing. And but I'm from about 30 minutes south of Starkville. And I woke up that morning and I texted my dad and I said, I'm coming down there. I was like, I don't have a ticket. And you couldn't get a ticket. But I was like, I'm coming down there. And I went down there, met up with some buddies, and watched. I ended up getting in the game, and I watched Dak beat number 2 Auburn, and that week it was either number 2 or number 3 Auburn, but that week Ohio State, Clemson, and someone else got beat, and we beat Auburn. So we were the only team in the top 5 that won that week. So we knew that we were about to come in at number 1 for the first time in history. Mississippi State was going to be the number 1 ranked team, and it was the first year that they were implementing the playoff bracket or whatever. And it was after that week was the first week that they would rank the playoff teams ever, because they don't rank it until like 5 or 6 weeks into the thing. So a piece of trivia: the first team to ever come in at number 1, the first time they ever ranked the 4-team playoff, was Mississippi State with Dak Prescott.
I don't think people that don't live in the South really understand how serious college football is here.
Dude, we don't.
It's a religion.
There's so little or so few pro teams in the South that that's all we have, man. I mean, especially people like being from Arkansas. You're too far from Memphis. You're too far from New Orleans. You're too far from Dallas, and we were too far from Atlanta, New Orleans, or Memphis, and so you're in between. It's like college football, man.
Big time.
Yeah.
I grew up a Pittsburgh Steeler fan. That was back during Bradshaw and Franco Harris and all that era, man. While everybody else was a Dallas Cowboy fan, man, I got to hang out with Bradshaw a couple of times, man. What a cool guy he is.
Seems like he
really
seems
is,
super
man.
cool, man.
Yeah, we drank a little bit one night.
Yeah,
he's pretty funny, man. He's a piece of work.
Where was that?
I played in a golf tournament for the Alumni Association up in New Jersey, and me and Tracy Bird and Ron Jaworski were on a team, and we actually won the thing. And Howie and Bradshaw were all there, and we actually played a show at the House of Blues that night up there, and we hung out up was the Founders Room at the House of Blues, that upstairs room that they have, or whatever that private room is. But we all hung out. Me and Bradshaw hung out all night.
Dude,
it was
that's
really good.
awesome.
I don't know if he remembers it, but it was really cool. It was awesome. Pretty fun, man.
You play a lot of golf?
I used to. I've had a shoulder injury this year.
That's right. We talked about that. I play a tournament every year, man.
I know, and it's the tournament's been a lot of fun, and I'm really sad I hadn't got to play either year. So I'm hoping I'm going to be able to get this thing fixed and be able to play next.
Dude, I hope so, man. Too. You can't lose that game if it was going good.
I mean, when I was playing back before I got injured, I mean, I'd got to the point I was able to get down to the 70s every now and then. You know, shooting in the low 80s on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And, I got an awful looking swing, but I keep it in the fairway.
Dude, it don't matter.
And have a great time. But guys, it's just been frustrating because I was playing during the summer. I'd play 3 days a week.
Yeah.
When we're out on the road, and it's just kind of gone away.
Yeah.
But it will come back.
Good.
Yeah.
You got, dude. That breaks my heart for you, man. My fiance's grandpa finally has gotten to the point in his life where he had to give away all his golf stuff, and he was so beat up about it, man. Like, he's like, I've played my last round, and it sucks, man. It's like one of the many reasons I want to take care of my physical body, just because I want to play golf the rest of my life.
Yeah, this old road's hard on you, though, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll beat you up.
Yeah,
I mean, you'll wake up one day, you'll be old like us.
I already feel like it sometimes, man.
Yeah, and the road treats you like dog years, I think. I mean, it beats you up. No fun.
I see pictures of me. We didn't start touring till about 4 years ago, and man, I see pictures even just 4 years ago, and I'm like, dude, I look like a kid. I feel like I've lived 1,000 lifetimes since then.
Well, you've seen a whole lot, man. Your whole life has changed.
Yeah.
I mean, to really put it into perspective, it's like you moved to a different planet.
Yeah.
Everything around your whole world has changed.
Yeah, and it affects your parents, your loved ones' parents. Like, it's crazy how much it changes everything, and everybody has to kind of play ball, which is like, I have so much respect for everybody that that I'm related to, and people that have kind of experienced changes in the way that people change around them, and how my parents and my family and Kyleigh and people have to deal with people like that, because it's all because of me, and I've struggled with that for a long time, and I kind of blame myself, and I've finally kind of broke through that and was like, this is my life, and it's a blessing, and it's just a blessing that it sucks, but it's a blessing to have people around you that can handle that change really well.
I never really thought about what my dream was how it was going to impact the rest of my family and the people that I loved until it happened. You don't even think about that. You're so driven and focused on what you want, and it's like I never really thought through all that, but it did. I remember, man, my dad hated Time Marches On. He hated it because it talks about daddy's got a girlfriend in another town. And people don't really understand that I didn't write that song. Bobby Braddock wrote it. So they think that because I sang it, I'm talking about my family.
Right, yeah.
And that my daddy's got a girlfriend in another town. So he got questions about it all the time. He hated it. I mean, it really impacted him hard. And I never thought about that.
Yeah. It's crazy the things. I just always say, Johnny Cash didn't really shoot a man in Reno. It's country music, man, but yeah, I mean, people believe it, and dude, even when I was growing up, I thought everybody wrote their own songs. I didn't learn about the songwriter thing till I was 16 or 17, and my sister moved to Nashville, and she was like, "Holy crap, there's like a whole industry with, songwriters, and you get paid, and you're just a normal dude, and you go into a room and you write a song every day, and then that, most people, it goes to someone else."
I still have people that think, okay, well, so-and-so wrote this song, and then Jason Aldean bought it from them.
Oh, my God,
no, it doesn't work that way.
No, it does not.
No, we don't buy songs. You don't sell that. They might have done that years ago, but now there's a whole publishing industry that's its own side of the business. It gets confusing to me sometimes. I mean,
it's crazy.
And it's changing all the time.
Yeah, it really is. Dude, it's changed. When I moved to town, and this, I know this is completely different than when you moved to town or when you were here, or when you were, started in Nashville. But everybody wrote at 10, and there were no track guys. There were no guys in front of a computer, and you just had an acoustic guitar, and you sat in a room with 3 other dudes, and dudes or women, and you wrote a song. And now, sadly, I probably do that kind of right like 3 or 4 times a year, and the rest of the time I'm in. It's just so streamlined, and it's hard to, and then, back then it was like you'd have to write a song on an acoustic, and then you'd have to record it on your phone or on a recorder or something like that. And then, a month later you'd gather your 5 best songs, and then you'd take it to
do a demo.
studio.
Yeah.
And as sad as it is, that's, it's so convenient to have somebody that's sitting in the room that has a full-blown demo that sounds like it could go to the radio, that day. And that's just kind of the way it is now, man.
I think that's Trey Lewis. I sat with Trey Lewis the other day. That's pretty much how that. I'm not even going to say the name of the song.
I know the song,
but that's pretty much what they did. I mean, that was just
wrote it to a track.
That was a work track.
Yeah,
he just put a vocal on, man. And then I think they added some guitar stuff to it, but it's all completely different, man. Are you able to ride on the road?
Yeah, I bring people out.
I used to.
I don't enjoy it as like a whole lot. I love the process, but it's the I don't know. Sometimes I'll bring people out, and then
you feel like you have to.
Yeah, exactly. And I, or like we're gonna go to a place, and Morgan texts me and is like, "Dude, this guy can get us on this PGA course," and I'm like, "Man, I got some riders out and stuff like that." And I love being able to go out and kind of do my own thing on the road. But I do it because I feel like I have 2 jobs, and I'll write for myself, if I'm writing for a record. But like right now, like my record is done, and for the next year and a half, I'm not thinking about me at all, and I just want to write songs for, everyone else. And but when I'm in town, I'm so freaking tired, and like, we get back on a Sunday, and I usually I take a Monday to do whatever, and then Tuesday I'll write, and Wednesday I might write, but then we leave Wednesday, so I only get to write 2 times when I'm in town. So I'm trying to bring writers out probably once, maybe twice a month, just to try to keep up with my my other job, if you will, and I enjoy it, man. And dude, I credit half of my hits to songs that I've written on the road, or at least like cuts I've gotten and stuff like that. So writing on the road it's legit, man.
I used to do it all the time, but man, I just don't. I have to have the structure. I do. I keep ideas, man. I gather ideas all the time. But usually when I can't write all year long. I'm not one of those guys that does it all year long. Once I start, I'll do like several months, and then I'll just knock a bunch of songs out. But I dropped 3 albums last year, and I literally wrote myself to a place where I just ran out of ideas. The last few songs I wrote were awful.
Yeah.
And I just haven't had the headspace to go back to it yet.
Yeah.
But I guess everybody's different, man. You've got your own comfort zone and the reason that you do things. I mean, the road's always been a real difficult place for me to ride. I struggle with it.
Well, and like, like you got a thing at 2:00 and you got to go do this. And then, you come back and having those little breaks where you have to hop off the bus and go do a thing and come back and this and that. It's tough too, especially for me because when I'm in it and we're writing the song, maybe I don't know what kind of mental disorder that is, but like if I'm in there, I can do it. But the second that I go away and I come back, it's really hard for me to get back into the thing, creative space. Or
so whatever. You're not one of these guys that'll get half done and leave.
Hell no.
I always have to finish it.
If we don't finish the song that day or in that setting, it bothers me for like weeks. Like and very rarely do I like revisit that idea or
it's
whatever.
Hard to go back to. I mean, Craig will stay 6-8 hours. He don't care. He'll. I mean, he's gonna stay till it's done.
He's the last person at Big Loud every day.
Oh yeah,
it's amazing.
He's a lyrical genius, man.
Yeah, I know.
Man, I say this all the time. I think the writers in Nashville are the last true American poets.
100%, I agree with that.
And
100%.
I'll put us up against anybody out there, any format out there. I think as a business model and a structure, I mean, everything you want's right there on those 3 streets. At least it used to be. It's spread out a little bit since Music Row's kind of gone away. But God, the publishing houses and the caliber of songwriters that are there. I mean, I go all the way back to guys like Dean Dillon. I mean, golly, what a career he's had, man. The things that he's written. I mean, it's been amazing to get to know some of those guys and just kind of pick their brain and just to hear the way that their mind functions. They're lyrical geniuses.
It is,
able
man.
To paint pictures with words, man. It's a gift.
And everybody has their own like. It is such a gift because everybody has their own voice, and like very very seldom like no two people are the same. Like I think of guys like Casey Beathard.
Oh yeah,
who just have those long internal rhyming lines that say like something really cool, and like you can't. Everybody gets better, but like you're born with that talent to be able to say things in your own way that nobody else can say it exactly the way that you just said it. And Craig's another one that's like
Absolutely.
that. I even some of the newer guys, Rodney Clausen, his color and the way that he writes detail and I mean there's so many people, but you're right, man. I truly think there's great writers everywhere, and there's good writers in LA and New York and whatever, but the people that are writing words and writing words to melodies that make you feel something and that can make you cry and that can make you do this and that are in Nashville. I agree with you 100%.
Without a doubt. So I want to make sure that we don't miss any topics that you want to discuss. I mean, there's not much of this year left. You're going out on tour next year. Album's done and in the can. What kind of things do you do when you're not working? What are your outlets, man? You a reader? What are the things you do?
Not a reader.
Not a reader?
No, I mean, I will. I have, and every now and then I will, but I hunt and fish a lot. I fish a lot when it's warm. And actually, one of my biggest hobbies is I find arrowheads all like in Nashville.
Cool.
And I go to the Cumberland River a lot. And there's places everywhere, man. That, back in the day, Native Americans, they lived up on the edge of those rivers, and now as they've dredged the river, it kind of cuts like a lot of dirt out of the bank, and every time it rains and when the river gets up and comes down, it washes arrowheads up on the bank, and I do that a lot. I have a pretty awesome collection that came from like literally the river, like when you drive over it at Briley, and like just areas that are all right around Nashville. It's just really cool.
Really?
Yeah. It's awesome, man.
And there's some spots as you get back above Old Hickory Lake and back into the river that goes up in there. Right through there is where the Trail of Tears came through,
dude.
So there's a massive area through there.
There's no telling then. It's some of the stuff I have found is like crazy to think that stuff is laying there and that people are. Riding bass fishing up and down the river or skiing or whatever, and they just have no idea that there's some of the coolest stuff that's people don't realize that some of that stuff is like thousands and thousands of years old. In theory, if they were here for, in theory, 10,000 years before,
Yeah, Columbus didn't discover America.
No way, man. They were 22 million Native Americans here when they got here, and that just means that there's shit everywhere, dude. There's stuff. I mean, if they lived here for that long and there was that many of them, there's stuff. I found. Do you ever play Greystone in Dixon golf course?
I don't think so.
I was playing with a couple guys, and we were on the second tee box, and there was a creek that ran through the thing, and it's always like high ground next to water. Running water is always like a giveaway. Like they could have lived there, and we were on the second tee box, and on the side of the tee box or on like this little hill, it was a whole thing of dirt, and for 2 seconds, I walked over there and I just kind of looked and I saw a perfect arrowhead laying in that dirt. And I called the guys over and I was like, y'all come here. I was like, before I pull this out of the ground, I want y'all to see this because it's a really cool thing. And I said, you see that rock? It was only like half exposed, so it kind of just looked like a sharp rock. And I said, that is an arrowhead. When I pull this out of the dirt, you're gonna be able to tell. And they were like, all right, yeah, I see it. And I pulled it out and it was a perfect arrowhead.
Wow.
And it was super cool to show some guys it blew their mind. They were like, what do you mean it's here? Like, it was the whole thing. So it was really cool.
So it's been several years ago, and it was a real physical hunt. But I went to Montana, and I did an elk guide.
Yeah.
And we would go out in the morning, and we would get down at the base of the hills, and he'd glass the elk, and then we'd go back and eat breakfast and wait in the early afternoon. We would go to freaking hiking. You'd go up the top of the mountain. So a couple of days went by. The third day, nobody got a kill. Or a harvest, however you want to say it. But we'd packed up, and my guide and I went we glassed the elk and everything, watched them through the binoculars, and then saw which way they were going up the mountain. Followed them up there that afternoon, and then you only have like a 45-minute window when you get up there. But it was real cool. So we had come up to the top of this bluff, and it was almost like an altar. It was a rock ledge, and below it was a channel. And there was like hundreds of elk moving through this channel, just big bulls everywhere. And it was like a 300-400 yard shot. And down below this rock altar, where you could tell that the Native Americans had shot the arrows from this place, there were arrowheads everywhere, all around this whole area. But you're talking about a 2-hour hike up in the middle of nowhere, where very few people had ever seen. It was like a religious experience,
dude.
man.
And those elk had been traveling that since they've existed.
Yeah, and it's the migratory path that they do. It's just genetic.
Dude, that's
they don't even
so
think
cool,
about it.
Man.
Just to be there and hear them all bugling down there and be in that experience was unbelievable.
Oh, I got chills. Yeah. I love that. I love that stuff, man.
I
always think about, especially when I find them in Mississippi, where I grew up. We have a couple of spots where we deer hunt, where there's some spots where you can find them. And every time I find one, I think about like some dude, probably half my age, made this and was hunting the same animal that I'm out here hunting right now. Arguably 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years ago is like crazy. The coolest thing in the world to me.
Just to realize that you're at the same place at a different time that somebody was there before you.
Yeah, that's right, man. I love it. It's the coolest thing about it to me.
Yeah, that's very cool. You do metal detecting or anything like that?
I have before. I haven't gotten into like a lot of the Civil War stuff, and honestly, in Nashville, man, it's picked over. Like, there's people
they've got
people
it all.
Get out the history books and the stuff, and they know exactly where camps were. But I have a metal detector, and I actually have this thing. This is super nerdy, but it's like a magnet. And it's like this magnet that can hold like up to 400 pounds. It's like crazy, and you're supposed to tie like a rope to it, and you throw it out in the water. Like, you can throw it out like under bridges and stuff, and you can find like pistols and crap that people have thrown off into the water.
Just sucks them all to it.
Dude, you throw it out in the water and you drag it, and anything made of metal, it just sucks it to it. And I always wanted to go up the Stones River and do that because one of my buddies in college he and his family had a house on the Stones, and they found a cannon barrel in there. And like, so I know you can find a lot of Civil War stuff in the Stones if you go up far enough. And if you just took that thing and drug it behind the boat or something and pulled it up every now and then, it'd be cool to see what you come up with.
That's really crazy, man.
I ordered one of those from wish.com because
really?
my dad and I were talking about it. And the damn thing shows up, and it's as big around as my thumb. I thought it was going to be like a dinner plate, you know? It's like, oh, what am I going to do with this fucking thing?
Did you ever try it out?
Bleep.
It wasn't big enough to use. It was like as small as my thumb, and I thought it was going to be like a dinner plate.
Yeah.
But yeah, I showed my dad, and he said, what the hell are we going to do with that?
Mine's like it's like a size of like a solo cup. You know what I mean? I guess they make different sizes for what you're going after, I guess. But yeah, you would think something as big as your thumb's not going to cover a lot of ground. You're going to have to hit it right on the nose if you're going to get something.
Well, I can't think of anything else to talk about, man. I've really enjoyed it, man.
Me too.
Getting to know you, I've been really excited about it. Tattoo's got to happen, dude.
It's going to happen.
We got to do it.
It's going to happen, 100%.
Yep. Looking forward to it, man.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me on here.
Hardy, y'all give it up for him.
Woohoo.
Thank you, brother. Good to see you, friend. Let's go kick ass out there tonight.
Let's do it.